Chord melody, also known as chord soloing, can be thought of as playing the melody and harmony parts of a piece of music simultaneously on the same instrument. On guitar, it tends to be approached in two fundamental ways. Here we have a single part melody line. We could harmonize this melody around familiar chord shapes as follows, with the same melody notes marked in blue. In that example, the melody moved around fixed chord shapes with multiple melody notes per chord. Alternatively, we could harmonize each note of the melody in multiple moving parts, such as this three-part harmony. In that example, the harmony part more closely followed each melodic note, and each part effectively created its own melodic line. In both examples, the way the melody moves smoothly and mostly stepwise through the changes is specifically referred to as voice leading, an intrinsic function of chord melody playing. While both these examples primarily serve the melody, they each offer a different harmonic treatment of that melody. The easiest place to begin with developing our chord melody skills is to first give ourselves an open bass note. For example, the open fifth string, giving us an A bass note in standard tuning. We'll see why this is useful shortly, but remember you can also apply the process we're about to follow to different bass notes. Let's give ourselves a starting position. Here we're matching the root of A on the fourth string. Around this position we have three main areas to add in melody on the higher strings, with each area requiring different finger positions. We're keeping it to just 3 strings for now to help compartmentalize things. Within the first area, we can place our third finger on the fourth string and identify the following intervals displayed in the top right. Major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, and augmented fourth. We also have the option of playing on the next string up and extending our interval reach. Augmented fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, and minor seventh. Now, this fingering is only a guide, and you may need to alter it depending on how you sequence your melodies around the position. As you progress, you'll need to allow some flexibility with that. We can try forming a simple major melody in this position, involving the major third. You can add in the open A bass if you like. Notice how when we moved up to the second string, we held on to the major third on the third string, which serves to fill out the voicing. This particular shape you might recognize as a familiar major triad shape, in this example, A major. This is just one reference shape we can use to get into position for major chords in a progression. We'll come back to these shortly. For different colours, we can also hold on to other tones as we move up the strings. So this is initially where you can experiment with harmonizing a melody around one position. Let's now try a minor melody involving the minor third. This time we held on to the minor third as we moved up to the second string. This shape you might recognize as a familiar minor triad shape. Again, we can reference this as just one shape for positioning our minor chords. What this simple exercise does is get your fingers used to forming a melody around a fixed chord position. You can also use it to train your eyes and ears to interval movements and scales. On to our next area, more central to our root position. Here we change to our second finger on the fixed root. Don't worry if you can't quite stretch to some of these positions, though do make a repeated effort as they'll be useful for forming melodies around various chord shapes. Again, try forming a simple major or minor melody to get moving around this position. And our final area, this time using our index finger on the root position, allowing us to stretch further up the neck. Again, we have a range of intervals and fingerings to form a melody around this position. And again, we should be flexible with which fingers we use depending on the situation. Here, you can simply bar your index finger over the root position fret. These three areas give us the finger positions and dexterity development we need to play melodic sequences across the neck, and not just in a root position. For example, you'll see how it all pieces together as we progress. We're now going to make use of these finger positions to melodically link up simple chord shapes, starting with triads. For example, here is the A major triad across the second, third, and fourth strings, played in 3 positions or inversions, with the first repeated at the octave. Referencing the A major scale across the second string, we can link these triad shapes together melodically as follows. We could also involve the third string in forming a more embellished melody, involving hammer-ons and pull-offs, for example. Use YouTube's speed change function to slow things down if needed. When we come to forming melodies through chord changes, these triad positions will prove a helpful initial reference. Now, each of these triad shapes can be seen as part of a fuller chord shape, namely the A, E, and C shapes. So we can also use the top 3 strings to form triad shapes and use the same process as before to get our fingers used to forming a melody around them. And we can do the same with the fuller 4-string shapes. That particular example can be seen as formed around a familiar scale pattern. You can, of course, reference scale patterns for playing your chord-based melodies in different positions. Another position. Another position. Once you're physically comfortable with forming melodies around these individual chord positions, you'll be able to apply them more confidently through chord changes. On that point, let's try a simple chord change exercise between A major and D major, or the 1 and 4 chords in the key of A major. Over A major, we can reference the 3 or 4 string shapes as we covered, over the open A string bass. For D major, I'm using the open D string as the bass and referencing D major triads on the top 3 strings. Over both chords, and if it helps, we can reference the A major scale as a guide. Whether you come up with the melody first or improvise it as you're playing through the changes isn't so important right now. This exercise is mostly about becoming confident with linking up chord positions with a melody, so make it as simple as you need. Here's an example to get you started. That climbing 4-part sequence at the end demonstrated how melody can be harmonized in blocks rather than the melody moving around a fixed chord shape. Another example of that, based around the following melody. We'll look more at this kind of block chord melody in a later part. The key concept here is that the chord shapes are like harmonic destinations connected through our melody line, allowing us to access different neck areas for colouring our melody. In other words, the chord shapes allow us to harmonise and contextualise the melody as it flows. See if you can apply this same process to minor shapes. I'll be providing further help with this and many other concepts on my Patreon. There you can get access to exclusive content, including song analysis, voting on future lessons, and further help with existing lessons. Link in the description. Thank you for your time and support. In the next part in this series, we'll look more at fluidly linking up chord changes with a melody, and also start to get comfortable with harmonizing an existing melody with different chords, also known as reharmonization. Your patience is appreciated because of the complexity and depth of this particular topic. In the meantime, please like and share this video if it's helped. Cheers.